How much time do you remember spending with your father? Was he committed in continuing a relationship with you?
He just was gone, and I had to, we kind of had to watch my mother do it all by herself, It was a rough time because without his help, she had to do everything. So for a while we were homeless.
10 years old. I mean, this is pretty devastating for a 10-year-old young boy. And when you abandon your kids, I've heard all excuses. I left because I didn't think I had anything to offer my kids. I left because the wife was working or the wife wasn't working, all kinds of excuses. And I want to make sure our audience understands this. The reason that men abandon their children, and there's one reason only, himself.
Changing one life, time after time. Oh Lord, we do it all for you.
Through the trials I see, I'll always believe a new life starts with you.
Oh, change your world today. Change is gonna come your way. Change and get an understanding. His grace will transform you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming back Devin Tyler. Welcome back, sir.
Nice to be here.
Dealing with the absence of the father, I'm glad to hear that you didn't hold anything against him. But some of the decisions you made, even in college, and now we're out of college and we're going to the NFL. Tell us about that.
Okay, well, if I would have did some things better in college, I feel like it would have put me in a better position in the NFL to get into the NFL. And I feel like because of the absence of my father, it took me longer to do what I was supposed to do in college because I didn't trust those men.
Okay.
And I didn't know that. So when they would tell me, Devin, listen to us, you can go to the NFL, I wouldn't really listen. They wanted me to carry myself a different way. They wanted me to be a leader because they seen right away that even as a freshman, they was like, okay, Devin, you can lead this team. We got these good kids over here who are going to listen to the coaches. But then we have these urban kids who they're not going to disrespect you. They're going to listen to you if you tell them, if you follow us and buy into our program. And I wouldn't do it because I didn't trust them. I was like, they're telling me this and then it's going to be a big letdown. And I didn't know until later when I was able to realize I didn't trust men. You know what I mean? Because my father wasn't around. I didn't really. But
well, explain that a little bit. I mean, that's huge what you're saying. I didn't trust men. And what was it that caused you not to trust men? I know the absence of your father, but what are some of the things that were going on in your mind, maybe even fears, about trusting men?
I mean, I just didn't want to let him in. My uncle was around, and he did a good job. He was real firm on us, trying to teach us some lessons. But as far as just getting close to a man, I didn't really know how to trust him. Why should I believe you? I mean, my father, you're not my father. He didn't teach me these lessons. Why should I trust this? What intentions do you really have? Like,
do you think you were afraid of being abandoned by anybody that you would let in?
It's crazy because I have recently thought about that it may have been a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
Whereas though, and I think that's a problem that I'm trying to get over still. That's how I approach life. Sometimes I won't put all of my trust or all of my energy into something because the letdown is so big when you do so much. Like my first time getting cut from an NFL team, the letdown was so big because I had thought I did everything that it almost crushes you to the point that you can't recover. So it may be a defense mechanism, but I didn't think of it that way at the time. I self-consciously did it.
Yeah, I tell you exactly what it is. There is something worse than failure, and that is the fear of failing. And it's this fear that can become tormenting all of your life. And if we're not careful, if that fear is allowed to remain, we transfer that fear down to other people. You transfer that fear down to your son. He transfers it down to somebody else, and you begin to raise up a generation who just won't trust. and the devastation of abandonment and the pain of father not being there and being let down creates this fear of, I'm going to protect myself so I don't have to go through that feeling again. Relationships are very interesting. Relationships can be damaging, but they're also a good part of relationship that can help you like a bridge to get you to the places where you need to go. And it's a risk, but there's a risk in everything. Life is a risk. I mean, there's a risk that you can get up in the morning and get hit by a car. There's a risk that the airplane you own could crash. But we've got to believe that taking the risk is worth it. And I just believe when God is with you, you know, he'll make things better. We can hide in the house because we're afraid of everything, or we can step out, which is the best way to defeat that fear, and say, little by little, I'm going to trust somebody. Little by little, I'm going to make a decision to trust people. And as people begin to prove to you that there are some people that are trustworthy, there are some people that won't let you down, then what it helps you do, it equips you to make better decisions of who to trust. It equips you to say, you know what, instead of me not trusting anybody, I'm going to make a decision to look at the best risk that I can possibly take to say, based on these qualifications, it looks like this is a pretty good risk to trust this person versus these qualifications that I know of. But somehow or another, you've got to set up something where you can begin to trust, because your son's probably going to be your size. He's probably going to go to the NFL. He's probably going to do a whole lot of other things. And because of what you've gone through, your commitment to be a father and to be there, then what you didn't have, you're going to make sure he has. Son, I want you to know how to not just be a man, but a good man. A good man does this. A good man does that. A good man does this. And a good man is not afraid to trust and to try things out. And as you begin, even now with your journey, that fear of trusting people, if it's not dealt with, it'll deal with you. And ultimately, you'll find yourself doing some of the things that you did before. And that's a good question there. Did you find yourself even in the NFL or even in the Canadian League because of that fear and mistrust of other people? Did you find yourself getting in trouble even in those areas?
Yeah, I got in a few more things that I wasn't proud of. I think once I got to the NFL, coming from where I came from, I thought I made it. I thought I was the man. So I would go back home and Devin Tyler from the Arizona Cardinals or Baltimore Ravens. Yeah. So I feel like I wasn't ready. And if I would have had a better mindset, I probably would have been in the NFL still. But it all hit me at one time, and I would go back to my neighborhood and think I was the man. And I didn't really put my all into it. I was like, I'm here. I did enough to get here, so this is going to keep me here, and it wasn't. And I got in an altercation where I got locked up again. I got in a fight, and I ended up going to jail for 90 days. And so that could have stopped my career. I missed 5 games of my season in the CFL, and so that's another decision that I feel like I made a bad decision, but since then I kind of been making good decisions. So.
I am so proud of the decisions that you've made, and success, real success, is discovering the will of God for your life. Hey, let's take a break. We'll be right back with more.
This summer, experience the New York Camp Meeting. Join thousands for uplifting worship and dive deeper into faith, power, and grace. Featuring profound teachings by Pastor David DeMola.
The only reason why the Spirit of God is in this place is because you're here.
Pastor Andrew Womack.
And He is not healing people today and saving people and delivering them. He did all of that through Jesus 2,000 years ago.
Pastor John Hagee.
And I want you to know like never before, the King is coming. He is coming. And He is coming soon.
And Pastor Creflo Dollar.
His obedience, I have been made the righteousness of God, the redeemed of God, the wisdom of God, the sanctified of God.
From July 14th through the 17th, 7 p.m. nightly at World Changers Church, New York. Register today at CrefloDollarMinistries.org.
You know, I guess as a result of what we've been talking about, some people are just asking the question, well, what do I do? Well, what's the answer to fatherlessness? I think we mentioned this, but number one, education is the answer. And once we begin to educate, and I'm talking about not just educating people in their minds, but I'd like to see better images of fatherhood in the movies and on television. I think as the media would begin to pray, not pray, yeah, they need to pray too, but if the media, if they'll begin to portray good fathers on television and making it cool to be a good father, it demonstrates and it gives a visual to young men that it's good to be a father like that. It's good for me to take care of the children I have. It's good for me to be there. That was one of the answers you gave us concerning what do I do when my kids are exposed to this negative culture. You make sure you're there. And I'm saying to all areas of media, take part in the answer to fatherlessness in our nation. And let's produce shows and movies and sitcoms where the father is there, where the father is participating. We communicate a message to young men all around this nation that it's good to be there and to be a father. And as a result of that, Devin, I believe you'll see an evolution that will take place as true with the negative things we've seen on television. We can see those positive things evolve into real life and into real situations. So that's one of the areas that I hope to see. I would hope to see more education given to our judicial system so that the judges can begin to understand not only this situation with fatherlessness, but to understand it enough that we can begin to look at how they can participate in ending this great epidemic. And that's what it truly is right now in the United States. It is an epidemic. And so another answer I would give is for the single moms who we congratulate you. You know, you doing the job as a single parent. We congratulate you taking your children and saying to them, this is the right way to do this. This is the wrong way to do this. We congratulate you and as a single parent that you're there. Devin's mother was there. She was at the game screaming her lungs out. She was there when he signed his scholarship for Temple. She showed unconditional love. She challenged him all the time to be the best and would not allow him to accept average. And so we congratulate all of the women who had to be mothers and fathers, and you took hold of that leadership role, and you did the best you could possibly do. And for that, we celebrate you, and we are so thankful for that. And here's another thing I want you to get a hold of. God will be your father. And listen, he's always going to be there. And he will never leave you. The Amplified says, he will never leave you or forsake you. He is committed to being there, and he's committed to being your father. And a lot of things we can learn from understanding who God is. And as we begin to see God and to see the fatherhood of God, it now will begin to at least help us to know how to communicate, how to direct our kids, how to take the very character of how God is a father and use it to teach our children. You know, Devin, you have a nonprofit organization, and like your mother, you take the things in your life and you turn it around and use it to benefit other lives. How do you hope to use this nonprofit organization to fight this epidemic of fatherlessness?
Okay, well, the nonprofit is still in its early stages, but I just want to target all the inner city youth. And realistically, you know, growing up, none of my friends, I can't even think of any of my friends who had their father around. So
wow, not one of your friends
that I really grew up around.
Yeah. Wow, dude, that's an epidemic, isn't it?
Around Homer Avenue, No, not that I could think of.
Wow. And the culture of that neighborhood matched the issue of fatherlessness in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so that's real. That issue is real to me. So, the name of my nonprofit is the Devin Tyler Foundation, but the first branch I want to touch on that I came up with, one of my friends was talking to me about how big my influence was in my area, and I had already started, going back to my school, talking to kids, talking to classes and everything. And so he was like, "What's important to you?" So I came up with Father the Future. And basically what I want to do with that, it's a branch under under the David Tyler Foundation. I really want to, just like I said, target the inner city youth and help them, because I feel like a lot of things that stop these young dudes from being fathers, they don't have the money or they don't have anyone showing them how to do it. So if I could find a way to target them and, maybe do parenting classes or mentoring sessions with some of the men who are doing good that I know, and maybe pay for all his diapers for the year, or pay for all of the food, you know what I mean, for that month. And so I'm hoping that it does well and that it'll help guys to be more confident and stay around and be there for their kids,
Well, I hope that you being on this show will really expose what you're doing. I don't think as a society that we're really getting how vital this issue is to the well-being of our society. And, you hear people mention it here or there, but as far as I'm concerned, it may be the root cause to things like carjacking, robbery, murder, disease, anger, all of the things that we hear about all the time on the news. And nobody really sits back and asks the question, what's the root cause of this? And it's not just in the black community. It's in the white community. It's in the Hispanic community. And if it were a disease, it would be at epidemic proportion. And so I want to call a state of emergency on this issue of fatherlessness in this nation. You want to correct some of the things we're seeing in our culture? You want to correct some of the anger that we have seen in certain cities? Well, let's take the time and put some money and some time and some effort in fighting this situation dealing with fatherlessness all around the country. And fathering the future, dude, that's exactly what this is all about. That if you want our future to be better, then you need to get involved in fathering the future and becoming a mentor. And I know all of the risks that are involved. I mean, but you just can't look at everything like we were talking about from the position of fear of saying, well, everybody's like that. We can't let a few bad apples spoil the whole deal. And we just have to set up a better way of monitoring those relationships so that people won't get hurt in the midst of it. I believe in your life and what we've talked about, the grace of God has been significant. How his unmerited favor showed up when you were leaving high school into Temple University. How even what happened in Canada, the grace of God and the love of God was there, and you got another opportunity. What did you do to deserve it? What did you do to earn it? It was the love, the unconditional love of the Almighty God that showed up in your life over and over again to allow you to see that his love is meant for everybody who will receive it. And that's the testimony I believe you're going to give one day, is the grace of God showed up in my life. And I wasn't so special to deserve this. I mean, who plays football the senior year? Who does that and then end up getting a 4-year scholarship? That's the power of God's grace. And I want you to know that that same grace is available to you today. His grace has been made available to the whole world. Good people, bad people, church people, people who don't go to church. Jesus released his grace for everybody. Now, how you respond is going to be up to you. How you respond will determine how you'll walk in what he made available. And I tell you, when God shows his love over and over again, eventually you have to come to the place of recognizing there's a power greater than myself in operation here that's allowed me to be where I am. And I am so blessed that you've decided to take your life and to, in a sense, extend it forward and saying that, you know, I could just be concerned about just my house and my family, but I want to see what I can do to impact somebody else. Devin, I want to give you the last word. What is it you'd like for our audience to know? What is it you want to say? Whatever you want to say, man.
What I want to say is what you just said was very important, you know. In the last year has been probably the hardest year of my life, you know, so losing my mother. And for a minute, I lost sight of that, and I was mad at God, and I didn't want to believe in him, and I didn't want to talk about it. But after a while, just taking it all in, I realized that, you know, God is big, and he's here, and I don't have to be mad at him. Mm-hmm. I just had to take my time to understand. So, man,
that is so cool. You know, I put together for some of our guests that come in something I call a grace covenant. And it's something to just, you know, keep you focused on what you just said so that you can understand it. And I made one for you. It's called a grace covenant, presented on this day, April 16th, 2015, to Devin Tyler. I, Devin Tyler, accept this grace covenant provided to me by Creflo Dollar and agree with the following statements. And these statements deal with: you believe that Jesus loves you and nothing will ever change that. You believe that grace and the person of Jesus Christ has already provided everything that you'll ever need to have a healthy, fulfilling, and prosperous life. You believe that your past is in the past, and Jesus has chosen not to remember it, and neither will you. I will daily proclaim I'm the righteousness of God. Yeah, I daily live by the belief and the understanding that God's empowering grace will change my life for the better and equip me for success. I will daily flood my life with the Word of God and the praises of His saints. And that's what's all involved in that grace covenant. Will you receive this?
Yes, I will receive it.
Yes, sir. I'm gonna sign my name to it. And it's got a place for your signature, and right over your signature is the righteousness of God. Yeah, man. Because that's what happens when you receive what Jesus has done and when you receive all that He has done for you. So that's yours, man. You can keep it. And ladies and gentlemen, don't you appreciate Devin? I mean, it's just been an amazing time. It really has. You know, over the last 2 weeks, we have mourned the suffering of the fatherlessness in our world, and we have celebrated the rise of men like Devin, who have refused to become another statistic. I'm rejoicing over each and every one of you today because I know there is hope for healing and freedom in your lives. We do not have to be defined by the people who've hurt us. Don't let that happen. God has already defined us, and in His eyes, we are worthy.
An epidemic of fatherlessness is striking at the very heart of our homes, our churches, and our country. As you've seen on this special program, now more than ever is the time for men to discover who God has called them to be, to discover a real manhood that will restore peace, order, and blessing. Being a man after God's heart is not easy in today's world. With so many mixed messages and distorted images in our culture and media, it's more challenging than ever before to know what it takes to be a real man. But it's not too late for men to become the sons, fathers, and leaders God has destined them to be. Creflo Dollar wants to equip men with the wisdom, insights, and understanding you need to overcome lifelong hurts and to build strong, lasting, life-giving relationships. If you're a man who's ready to get more out of life, if you want to instill biblical masculinity and purpose into your son, if you're a woman who wants to really understand your son or husband, Creflo Dollar's Real Manhood will provide you with a clear and compelling vision of what it means to be a man of God in the 21st century. It's a wake-up call to all men to take up their callings, giftings, talents, and gifts, and to fulfill their unique responsibilities, to become a source of blessing and strength for the family, their church, and their community. In this dynamic read, Creflo Dollar addresses real-world issues like conquering fear, overcoming personal struggles, cultivating a dynamic relationship with God, and how to properly and effectively relate to others. These skills and truths will equip you or the men in your life to experience God's best while living life as a real man. This special gift offer is available today with your one-time love gift of only $35 or more. Your gift today makes it possible for Creflo Dollar Ministries to continue our global outreach to all across the world and to support life-changing moments like the one you saw today. When you order today, as an added bonus, you'll also receive the entire broadcast you saw today, plus the after-show Q&A session with Creflo Dollar and the live studio audience. Call now and receive both the book, Real Manhood, and your copy of today's broadcast with bonus content for your love gift of only $35 or more. Men of God are needed now more than ever before. Go to your phone and take that first step to discovering and embracing real manhood today.
There are answers to the tough questions you're facing today, and the collection you just saw will help get you on the right path to discovering exactly what they are. You're not alone, and as long as this program is around, you can always count on someone to be praying for you and celebrating your life every step of the way. Well, that's it for this special two-part edition of Your World. And be sure to join us again next week for a brand new program. Now it's time to take some questions from our studio audience, and we're going to continue this discussion online. But meanwhile, keep sending in your comments and your prayers and even your topic suggestions. We want to keep hearing from you. So connect with me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, or online at yourworldwithcreflo.com. God bless you, and I'll see you next week.
Your love and financial support make it possible for this broadcast to be seen and heard on 6 different continents. We thank the partners and friends of Creflo Dollar Ministries for making this program possible.